Hello, my name is Arthur Firestone. I am a consultant for the Foundation for Educational Administration and the author of The Assessment of Teaching Competence, Rethinking the Observation and Evaluation of Teachers. Today, I'm going to talk with you about effective observation practices. This is a critical topic for New Jersey supervisors and administrators, and one which requires coordinated attention by everyone in your district. By the completion of this presentation, you should be able to describe and discuss the 6 elements for an effective observation process and to identify at least 3 next steps that will improve the process in your own school and district. Let's begin. As I mentioned, there are 6 elements for an effective observation process that I am going to be addressing. Number 1 is professional relationships based on mutual respect and a shared commitment to success. This may seem obvious to you. However, I think it's something that many administrators and teachers take for granted and that really need and can be improved upon with some reflection. I'd like you to think about the nature of the relationships that you have with each of the teachers you observe and supervise. Do these contribute to or inhibit your ability to influence each teacher's professional practice? What can you do to make these relationships even more productive, especially in the case of teachers who must grow, learn, and improve, whether tenured or non-tenured? Number 2 is about shared purpose. While there are many benefits that can accrue from the observation process, I'd like to suggest that the most significant is to improve professional practice resulting in increased student learning and performance. This means that your process must be built upon a deep understanding of how people, teachers in this case, learn, change, and improve. For example, I propose that for people to change, it requires, among other things, a willingness, desire, and preferably a passion to learn and grow, as well as the skills, knowledge, and competencies required for the change. Take some time and consider how your observation process addresses these and other requirements in order to serve as a catalyst for teacher learning and growth. The third element is that observations and evaluations are based on a collaboratively developed and agreed upon common set of clearly defined, effective practices framed as an instructional model. Instructional models describe in significant detail effective teacher practices and competencies in order to promote a culture of aspiration, reflection, problem solving, and continuous growth. They serve many purposes, including forming the foundation for fair, focused, and constructive supervision, contributing to consistency among supervisors and administrators, providing the entire staff with a common vision of effective instructional and professional practices, and being the driving force shaping professional development. An instructional model template should include descriptions of each competency or practice, the specific skills, knowledge, attitudes, and choices or behaviors that represent high-quality professional aspirations and performance, the resulting benefits to the students, professional staff, organization, and/or community, and specific observable and/or measurable evidence, that is, indicators of a given practice or competence. Sources for your instructional model can include educational research, state and federal directives, the results of student assessments being carried out in the district, prior experience, magazine articles from magazines such as Educational Leadership, books that staff have read, and professional dialogue. The fourth element would be a consistent, sharply focused framework for the observation process and for the resulting written documentation. I have a framework I call EAG, E-I-A-G. The E stands for experience, the I for identify, the A for analyze, and the G for generalize. When experiencing the lesson in the classroom, the observer is having a similar reaction to the lesson that many of the students will be having. If the lesson is engaging, appropriately paced, lively, and effective, time will pass seemingly much too quickly. If the lesson's poorly designed or ineffectively taught, time will seem to stand still, and the observer will probably find himself or herself feeling restless and frequently looking at the clock, just as many of the students are doing. The observer, when experiencing the lesson, should be closely watching both the teachers and the students. During the classroom visit, it's the observer's primary responsibility then to identify and take well-organized notes regarding whatever she or he is witnessing that is having a significant effect on student learning. When I observe, I keep two questions in mind as I try to make an identification of what is significant. First of all, I think about who is doing the thinking, who's doing the work. Is it the teacher or the students? Keeping in mind that the person who is doing the work is the person whose mind is learning, is growing. The second question I like to ask myself is, would I want my own child in this class? And why or why not? This gives me a cue as to what is going on in the lesson that's especially good for the students or that is not accomplishing what the teacher is hoping to accomplish. After the classroom visit, the observer will need to analyze his or her notes, establishing why each identified aspect of the lesson is worthy of comment and discussion during the post-observation conference. It's particularly important to discern and describe valid cause and effect relationships resulting from each noted behavior or practice. And finally, to generalize is to specify what the observed teacher could do more of, less of, instead of, the same, not at all, or differently in order to be as or more effective and to improve the observed lesson. It is the step in which the administrator proposes an initial set of if-then predictions about the potential impact of recommended changes and seeds the post-observation dialogue, initiating teacher self-reflection. In writing about the observation, the IAG part of the EAG model is very helpful. You begin with the identification and accurate description of one significant teacher behavior or practice, followed immediately by insightful analysis of the effect or impact of that behavior on classroom climate, student engagement, student learning, followed immediately by helpful and positively worded generalizations or recommendations regarding the observed event, including both the observer's general description and specific strategies which the teacher might use to carry out these recommendations. Let me add that in writing, it is valuable to focus on one specific aspect of the lesson at a time with a complete IAG statement, then go on to another aspect of the lesson for another complete IAG statement. I would also suggest that in general, on any one observation cycle, the observer limit himself or herself to dealing with 4 or 5 at the most high leverage items. I say in general because when dealing with the teacher who is coming up for tenure or a marginal tenure teacher, it will probably be necessary to address many more topics on the observation and in the writing. The fifth element is that the post-observation dialogue be built upon questions that drive teacher self-reflection and commitment through coaching rather than directives that lead to minimal compliance. You will want to use two kinds of questions, both initiating questions that open and frame your dialogue and follow-up questions that drive teacher reflection and deeper understanding. Let me add here that it is in the post-observation conference that potentially the most important part of the observation cycle comes to fruition. It is where the teacher, if you do this well, will think deeply about his or her professional practice and make a commitment to grow and change. The sixth and final element is constructive follow-through on improvement efforts. This is significant because it emphasizes the importance of the observation as well as building continuity between one observation and the next. It also increases the likelihood that suggestions and decisions taken during the post-observation conference are successfully acted upon. One way to do this is through a post-observation action plan. This could include specific goals and or objectives, learning activities and time frames, the resources that the teacher will need and that will be provided in order to help them meet this goal or objective, and completion dates and notes. So these then are the 6 key elements for improving your observation practices. Consider them as you work with your supervisory and administrative colleagues to identify the next steps that need to be taken in your own school, in your own district, and by you yourself in order to make observations a powerful part of improving student learning.